Bishop Noel Jones just revealed a secret that has left the gospel world stunned. After decades of inspiring millions, he admitted something no one expected. He went through a divorce. Yes, the man so often seen as untouchable, the pillar of faith and family, has a side of his life he's never shared. Until now. What led to this shocking confession? And how did it change everything he believed about love, faith, and his calling? Stay with me, because what happens next is jaw-dropping. For years, Bishop Noel Jones has been a towering figure in the world of gospel, known for his fiery sermons, inspirational messages, and unwavering presence on the pulpit. But behind the public image of faith, devotion, and family, a personal truth has been quietly hiding. Until now. In a candid and deeply personal confession, Bishop Jones opened up about something that few could have imagined: the end of his marriage. Divorce is often seen as taboo in the church, and for someone like Bishop Jones, this revelation is nothing short of explosive. Tonight, we're diving deep into the story he's never told before. From the early days of his relationship, the pressures of ministry, to the private struggles that led to his decision, you're about to witness a side of Bishop Jones that the world has never seen. You won't believe the challenges he faced, the moments of heartbreak, and the inner battles that shaped him. And just when you think you know the story, the twists ahead will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about him. This is where it gets unbelievable. So buckle up, because what he revealed next changes everything about his image, his message, and the very legacy he's worked so hard to build. To understand the gravity of Bishop Noel Jones's confession, we need to start at the beginning. His extraordinary rise in the world of gospel ministry. Born into a family deeply rooted in faith, Noel's journey was never ordinary. From a young age, he displayed a charisma and eloquence that set him apart, captivating congregations with a presence that seemed larger than life. His sermons weren't just speeches, they were experiences. People described his voice as commanding yet comforting, his words a mix of inspiration, challenge, and revelation. Over the years, he became not just a pastor, but a spiritual icon, a man whose advice, prayers, and guidance shaped the lives of thousands, sometimes millions. But even at the height of his public success, there were personal pressures quietly building. Behind the pulpit, behind the bright lights and the cheering congregations, Bishop Jones was wrestling with the private struggles of marriage, expectations, and faith. The very qualities that made him a pillar of strength for others sometimes isolated him in his own life. It's in this contrast, the public triumph and the private struggle, that the seeds of his eventual confession were planted. And it's here that the story starts to take an unexpected turn, one that would shock the church community and fans alike. At first glance, Bishop Noel Jones's marriage seemed like a perfect picture of faith and devotion. To the outside world, it was a union blessed by God, built on shared values, spirituality, and a life dedicated to service. On church stages and in public appearances, they looked like the ideal couple, supportive, loving, and inseparable. But as anyone who has lived a long, complex life knows, appearances can be deceiving. Behind the smiles and Sunday greetings, there were moments of tension, unmet expectations, and quiet struggles that few ever knew about. Long hours at the church, travel for ministry, and the constant scrutiny of the public eye created a pressure cooker environment. Every decision, every misstep, even the tiniest disagreement seemed amplified under the weight of responsibility and visibility. Friends close to the family have revealed that the marriage, while founded on love and mutual respect, experienced cracks that were often hidden beneath layers of devotion and public decorum. These weren't dramatic fights or scandals that could easily be reported in the news. They were subtle, emotional, and persistent. Moments of loneliness, unspoken resentment, and the strain of balancing ministry with personal life slowly began to erode the connection that once felt unbreakable. Bishop Jones himself described in his confession that he often felt torn between two worlds, the expectations of his congregation and the needs of his own family. It was a struggle that left him sleepless, anxious, and questioning whether he could meet the demands of both without losing himself in the process. Yet even as challenges mounted, the public image remained flawless. Few could imagine that a man so revered, so seemingly untouchable, could face such personal turmoil. And this is where the story becomes truly shocking. Because what eventually happened wasn't just a private matter. It was a decision that would shake the faith community to its core. But what led him from quiet struggles to a decision so controversial? And how did it all come to a head? That's where the next chapter of his life begins. And what he revealed will leave you stunned. Every marriage has its challenges, but for Bishop Noel Jones, the pressures were amplified by a lifetime under the public eye. The congregation watched, the cameras rolled, and the expectations never stopped. Every sermon, every public appearance was a reminder of the image he had to maintain. The flawless pastor, the devoted husband, the spiritual leader without fault. Yet behind closed doors, the reality was far more complex. Bishop Jones confessed that over time, he felt a growing sense of isolation in his marriage. There were moments when he questioned whether love alone could withstand the weight of ministry, family obligations, and personal expectations. Nights were spent in quiet contemplation, praying for guidance, wrestling with guilt, and wondering how he could honor both his faith and his personal happiness. Friends and insiders suggest that the couple tried to navigate these challenges privately, seeking counsel and exploring ways to reconcile their differences. But even the strongest commitment can be tested when pressures come from every angle. The demands of church leadership, public scrutiny, and the very human emotions of doubt, frustration, and longing for connection. The breaking point came quietly, but irrevocably. It wasn't a single explosive argument or dramatic revelation. It was a culmination of countless small, painful moments that no one else saw. Bishop Jones realized that remaining in the marriage, while honoring his public image, was slowly eroding his spirit, his peace, and the authenticity of his life. Making the decision to divorce was not easy. It was a choice that carried immense personal risk, public judgment, and emotional turmoil. He admitted feeling a profound sense of failure, guilt, and heartbreak, not just for himself, but for the community that looked to him as a model of faith and commitment. This was not a decision made lightly. It was a deeply spiritual and deeply human struggle. And yet, in his confession, Bishop Jones revealed something extraordinary, that through the pain, doubt, and fear, he discovered an unexpected clarity. The divorce, as devastating as it seemed, became a turning point in his life, a moment of truth that allowed him to confront his deepest fears, embrace his humanity, and redefine what it meant to live a life of faith. But the journey didn't end there. What followed the divorce was a chapter of Bishop Jones's life that no one anticipated. A chapter filled with surprising revelations, emotional confrontations, and the kind of decisions that would challenge not only his followers' perceptions, but his own understanding of love, forgiveness, and destiny. And this is where the story becomes almost unbelievable, because what he shared next wasn't just personal. It was a lesson that touched the hearts of millions and shook the very foundation of what people thought they knew about the man behind the pulpit. The divorce of Bishop Noel Jones sent ripples through the gospel community. Fans, congregants, and fellow pastors were stunned. A man they had long seen as a symbol of steadfast faith and marital devotion had publicly faced a fracture that many thought was impossible. But what happened after the divorce is where his story takes an unexpected and deeply human turn. In his confession, Bishop Jones spoke candidly about the emotional turbulence that followed. For someone whose life had been defined by guiding others, offering wisdom, and maintaining a spiritual persona, confronting his own vulnerabilities was both terrifying and liberating. He admitted feeling lost at times, questioning his purpose, and grappling with guilt that weighed heavily on his soul. Yet, through these struggles, he discovered an inner resilience that had been hidden beneath decades of public expectation. One of the most shocking revelations he shared was how the divorce changed his perspective on relationships, faith, and leadership. He spoke about the moments of profound loneliness, nights spent reflecting on the promises he had made, the expectations he had carried, and the life he had envisioned. He admitted that these moments forced him to confront uncomfortable truths about himself, his needs, and the realities of life as a public figure. But the story doesn't stop at heartbreak. Bishop Jones also revealed moments of unexpected redemption. He described how the experience allowed him to connect more authentically with his congregation, offering guidance not just from scripture, but from the depths of lived experience. He spoke about embracing imperfections, finding grace in failure, and understanding that even leaders of faith are human, capable of mistakes, growth, and transformation. Perhaps the most jaw-dropping aspect of his confession was the honesty about his emotions and personal choices post-divorce. He openly acknowledged moments of doubt, questioning whether he could continue to serve effectively, and even fears about public judgment. Yet through it all, he found a renewed sense of purpose. Instead of hiding his struggles, he chose transparency, believing that his journey could inspire others facing similar trials. And just when it seemed like the story had reached a point of closure, Bishop Jones revealed something that no one expected. Details about how the divorce affected his closest relationships, his approach to ministry, and his understanding of love itself. These revelations were not just personal anecdotes, they were lessons about resilience, faith, and the human capacity to rebuild after loss. The confession became more than just a personal story. It became a testament to vulnerability, courage, and the power of truth. By sharing his journey, Bishop Jones shattered the illusion of perfection that many place on spiritual leaders, showing that even icons must navigate the storms of life. But the surprises weren't over. In the next chapter, he unveils a truth so intimate and shocking that it challenges everything people assumed about him. A revelation that would redefine his legacy and leave his followers both inspired and questioning everything they thought they knew. After opening up about the divorce and the emotional storms he weathered, Bishop Noel Jones shared revelations that left even his closest followers stunned. These weren't just stories of personal struggle. They were lessons that challenged conventional thinking about faith, love, and leadership in ways most people had never heard before. One of the first shocking truths he revealed was the extent to which public expectations had shaped his personal life. For decades, he had carried the weight of being seen as flawless, the perfect pastor, the devoted husband, the unshakable spiritual guide. But that image came at a cost. Behind the scenes, Bishop Jones faced profound loneliness, moments of self-doubt, and even a questioning of his own calling. He admitted that living under the microscope had made it difficult to be fully honest, not only with others, but with himself. He also spoke candidly about the personal mistakes he had made along the way, decisions he regretted, moments where pride or fear had prevented him from asking for help, and times when he felt isolated despite being surrounded by people. It was in these admissions that his humanity shone through. Unlike the untouchable figure many imagined, Bishop Jones revealed a man who struggled, who felt, and who ultimately chose courage over secrecy. Another revelation stunned the faith community. The divorce, as painful as it was, became a catalyst for personal growth and a deeper understanding of what it truly means to love. He described how he learned to let go of rigid expectations, to embrace imperfection, and to approach relationships, both personal and spiritual, with more empathy and authenticity. These lessons weren't theoretical. They were forged in real, difficult moments that tested his faith and resilience. Perhaps the most unexpected truth he shared was about the impact of his confession on the broader church community. Many feared that revealing his divorce would diminish his credibility, but instead, it created a profound connection with those who had felt alone in their own struggles. Bishop Jones explained that vulnerability can be a form of leadership, that showing your humanity can inspire others far more than an image of perfection ever could. And then came the revelation that truly shocked everyone. Details about how he reconciled his faith with the end of his marriage and the ways in which the experience reshaped his vision of ministry. He spoke of renewed purpose, of creating spaces for honesty, healing, and growth within the church, and of how the lessons from his personal life would influence the next chapter of his spiritual journey. By the end of his confession, it was clear that this was more than just a personal story. It was a blueprint for resilience, a lesson in authenticity, and a reminder that even icons of faith are human. Bishop Noel Jones' honesty forced the world to confront uncomfortable questions about expectations, love, and the pressures placed on those we idolize.